Did this make me cry? Like the scene with Augustus in the car. I think I'm gonna put it in sure. Hi, welcome. So since uni has been very overwhelming for me the last few days, I thought today we're just gonna be sitting down, chill, talking about something nice. So I thought, why not talk about my favorite books that traumatized me as a child? So today we're gonna be ranking every John Green book I have read. The problem is there aren't that many. Like, I'm pretty sure I have read almost every book he has ever written, and I've read like 5 books of his. And like, no shade here, that I'm not saying he has to write more books. I'm just saying I didn't really think this through when I planned the video, because I realized that it's kind of hard to tier rank when there's only 5 books. Like, I'm gonna have one book in one tier, maybe, you know? So I decided we're gonna do it a little bit different. So these are my tiers. So the first one is realize that I'm oblivion. Like, it just made me realize we're all gonna die and no one's gonna remember. So basically, I was having an existential crisis reading this. The next one is made me spiral. I think you know. Um, and the next one is okay, Hazel Grace. But no, I'm actually not okay. And then the last one is just sure. And then I made this special little thing called the cry count. So we're just gonna be looking at how many books of these made me actual cry. Like, not just saying it in a funny way, like a lot of these books actually made me cry, sobbing, so that I had to stop reading the book because I couldn't see anything, because I was crying so hard. So yeah, let's start. Okay, since this is a chill, casual, sit-down video, I made myself a matcha, like a raspberry matcha. I have actually never done that before, so I have no idea if it's even gonna taste good. But I just had raspberries, so I put them in there. So we're gonna try it together now. Let's see. Oh my god, it's so good. Okay, it's so good. I'm gonna make this every day now. So let's talk about these books. I actually really don't remember which book I read first. I feel like it might have been Paper Towns because I don't really remember that much about it. But yeah, okay, let's just start with Paper Towns. You can't even see the cover here, it's literally just the pin. So with Paper Towns, I gotta be honest, this one wasn't that much of an emotional book for me. So I'm actually surprised. I think I'm gonna put it in sure. So I think I'm gonna put it there because I enjoyed the book, but I don't think it was traumatizing on like a level that any of the others were. So in case you haven't read this book, in this story we follow a guy who has a crush on, I think it's his neighbor girl or something. I'm pretty sure he has a crush on her, but they don't really do anything together. Like, they aren't really friends or anything. And then randomly one day she talks to him and asks him to do all these things with her. Like, she has this whole list of things that she wants to do, and she's very much a quirky girly. Like, I think one thing she said is that she only writes everything in small letters, like she doesn't use capital letters because she feels like it's unfair to have one more special than the others. And she has made this whole plan, and they do all this stuff together and have like the greatest night of his life, I'm pretty sure. And then the next day she disappears and no one knows where she went. But then the guy finds some clues that she left behind. So he thinks, oh my god, she must have left these clues for me. I have to be the one to find her. And so that's what he tries to do. And that's the book. Him trying to find out what happened to her and following these leads. And yeah, it's a little bit of a mystery, I think. I think the next one I'm gonna talk about is Let It Snow. because that one definitely also goes into the shore category, but I think I'm gonna put it before Paper Towns actually, because I don't know, it's just a fun Christmassy story. So if you don't know this one, because I don't think it's as popular as his other ones, although a few years ago they made a Netflix adaptation of it and I actually enjoyed it, so maybe it's a little bit more popular now. Although I feel like most people just don't even know that this Netflix Christmas film is based on a John Green book. I don't know. It's also not just his book. So it was a collaboration between 3 different authors. I don't really know the other ones, I'm sorry. But this book follows 3 stories and we just follow these different characters living their lives on the way towards Christmas. So it's like a few days before Christmas or maybe even the day before Christmas. I don't fully remember. And all these 3 characters just have completely different lives, not connected at all, but through these stories they start to kind of connect with each other, and it just ends up being a fun, cutesy teenage love rom-com Christmas story, I think. And I really enjoyed it. But did it make me cry? Did it make me spiral? I don't think so. So now we get into the 3 very heavy books for me, because yeah, this is where all the trauma lies for me. So maybe let's start with still the easiest one for me, I think, which might be surprising, but it's actually The Fault in Our Stars. So let's start with the cry count. Did this make me cry? Very much. Yeah, it did. A lot, actually. Like the scene with Augustus in the car, that was literally me.
No.
Please hurry. We're in a silver Jeep.
Like, I looked exactly like Ansel, for sure. So it definitely did make me cry. But it very much wasn't as bad as the other ones. I'm gonna put it in like, okay, Hazel Grace. But no, I'm actually not okay. In this case, it's not the okay. No, I'm not okay. So if you don't know this book, which is insane to me because I feel like at least the movie, most people have watched the movie, I'm pretty sure. But if you're one of the lucky ones, this book follows a girl called Hazel Grace, and she has cancer, and we just follow her through her teenage life because it's clearly not fun to be a child with cancer. But I feel like what John Green does so well with his books is just that he makes the characters feel so real, because usually I feel like I cope with trauma with humor. I don't know if that's healthy. Like, that's a whole other thing. You don't need to tell me for sure. But that's how I cope with trauma, okay? And I feel like these books are so heart-wrenching, but also just so funny. Like, this book is so funny a lot of the time. Especially Isaac has great jokes, in my opinion. And that's just real, because even if you have an illness or just unexpected deaths in your life, it doesn't mean that you're gonna be depressed every day all the time. I mean, that is a possibility, but I really hope it's not. And this is why I really like this book, because I actually think it's very positive in a way. Like, it's really gut-wrenchingly sad, like I said before, but it also really just has this positivity, and the whole thing that they talk about in the book is just that Augustus, which is the love interest, who also has cancer, and it's just these 2 teenagers trying to deal with a relationship and first love while knowing that it's very possible that they're gonna die soon. Augustus just always talks about oblivion and how it's one of his greatest fears, I'm pretty sure, because he doesn't want to be forgotten about, and he just thinks that that's one of the most sad things in life. But so the book ends up showing us that just living a full life doesn't have to mean living a long life. It doesn't mean having to live a big life. Like, you don't need to have the greatest, biggest impact on as many people as possible for you to having lived a great life. And just like their little life was so beautiful and full of so much laughter and happiness, even if they had such a short time together. Oh my gosh, am I gonna cry? No, I'm fine. And so yeah, Hazel also talks about this. Like, I'm pretty sure she calls it our little infinity. So it just means that they had their time together and they enjoyed their time. And even if it might be short, it doesn't make it any less worthy. And I really like that. I love this book so much. I still put it in okay because the other ones were painful for me. Did I even explain the book right though? I don't know. But just like a short recap again, the main character Hazel, she has cancer, and then her mom makes her go to a support group for children with cancer, which sounds like the worst thing ever for her, but she still ends up going for her mother. And she actually meets a guy there called Augustus Walters and also his friend Isaac, and they just end up having a really fun time together. Also, a terrible time, but still also a fun time. Now, let's get to the ones for me. Maybe let's start with the like, I don't know. I don't know. So, Turtles All the Way Down is a really hard one for me because if you don't know that book, because I feel like it's one of the less popular ones that John Green has written, and it's actually my absolute favorite. And I read that when I was maybe 13, 14. I'm not sure. But if you haven't read it, in this book, our main character is a girl and she has OCD. So if you don't know anything about OCD, it's short for obsessive compulsive disorder. And I'm really not the one to explain it perfectly. And I feel like also a lot of people that don't really know anything about it don't really understand it. But overall, it usually means that you have compulsions, so things that you constantly have to do, often like a specific amount of times. And then you also have these obsessive thoughts. So for this character, one good example maybe is that she always has a plaster, what? A bandage or something on her finger, and she constantly has to check it. So that's like an obsession and a compulsion, I would say, that she just constantly has to check the bandage. And so the book just follows her as a 15, maybe 16-year-old girl, just living with having OCD. And then she's also trying to solve a mystery because her like childhood friend's dad has gone missing, and her best friend Daisy are trying to find out what happened to him. So yeah, this book was a very hard one for me when I was a child because I think I read it when I was 13 or 14. And I just remember thinking how relatable the book was. I didn't realize back then that the main character had like a disorder. So I didn't realize she had a mental illness. I just thought, wow, what a relatable character. So yeah, that could have told me something, but like especially I don't want to spoil it, so if you haven't read it, just read it because it's a very good book. But the hospital scene and with like the disinfect stuff, I thought when I read that, oh yeah, I would totally do that as well. So, but it's definitely my favorite of John Green's books. Oh no, I also need to add that there's a movie adaptation actually, and it's also really good. I really didn't know how they would make an adaptation of this because it's a very like internal monologue kind of book, so I really didn't know how they were going to do it, but they actually did that very nicely. So please watch the movie if you don't want to read the book. Now let's get to the last book actually. So the last book I want to talk about is Looking for Alaska, and I think that was one of the first books that I read of his, and this full on traumatized me. This book changed me, so we're definitely gonna put that on the top. This was the worst book I ever read when I was a child to me. I vividly remember the first time I read it, I actually didn't finish it. So when you're at the half point, like the point in the book, I actually stopped reading. Because I just didn't expect it. I didn't realize this is where we were going because, like I said, I was probably 12 when I read this. I cried so much, like I said, when I got to that half point, and then I actually stopped reading it. And never finished it until I think I picked it up again when I was maybe 16 or 17. So if you don't know what this book is about, in this book we follow a guy and he goes to this summer camp, I'm pretty sure, and there he meets like his new friends, and one of them is a girl called Alaska. And in his opinion, this is just the most beautiful, perfect woman he's ever seen in his life. um, I'm gonna talk about that in a bit as well. And it's very similar to maybe Paper Towns, where they just have all this fun together, do all these adventures together. And I actually don't even want to say more, even though I think that's a point that a lot of people talk about when they summarize the book. I don't want to talk about it because, like I said, it happens like halfway through the book. So, halfway through the book, we get to a very traumatic point where I stopped reading. And like I said, I didn't read the book until like 5 years later or something when I was ready. And actually, I don't know why I was ready then, because it was actually at a very traumatic time in my life personally. And I don't know why I thought, okay, this is the perfect time to read this book. But yeah, I did, and it wasn't great. I didn't feel better. There's also a film adaptation of this, and it's a short series, I'm pretty sure. I have already watched that a few times because it's so good and I really like it. So, yeah, check that out. So, now the last thing I want to talk about is I have heard so many times people talking about how they don't love John Green's books because basically the female characters are the definition of a manic pixie dream girl. And I just needed to come here and talk to these people because a lot of people say that they don't really read his books because, like I said, the female characters are always these manic pixie dream girls, and it's just so unrealistic and annoying. Um, I think that's so funny because even when I read these books as a child, like I said, I was maybe 12 when I read Paper Towns and Looking for Alaska. Um, I still understood what John Green was trying to tell us. And he actually talked about this in an interview. I don't fully remember which one, but I remember watching it. And he talked about seeing that people said that and them not getting the point, because literally the point in Paper Towns, so this is a spoiler for the end of Paper Towns. If you don't want to know, just skip, okay? So Paper Towns ends with the guy finding the girl. Like I said before, he was looking for this girl and he was just thinking she was leaving him all these clues and that she was doing it on purpose so that he could find her. And in the end, he ends up finding her and she's like, "Why were you following me? That's creepy. What the hell are you doing? I just wanted to leave. Why are you here?" So it's so obvious that the point of the books are definitely for Looking for Alaska and Paper Towns. The point is literally that these guys make up these girls in their head as this perfect human being that wants to be with them and that is doing everything for them, because it's literally pretty much the same in Looking for Alaska. So in this book, the guy also talks about how I'm sure she must have had a reason and she must have left me clues to why she did what she did. And in the end, it's just like, no, these women don't live their lives for you. Like, they have their own shit going on and it has nothing to do with you. And that's literally the point of the book. So I don't know. I just wanted to talk about that for a second because I've seen a lot of people say that they don't like John Green books because of his depiction of female characters, and it makes me angry because literally the point of these characters is that in the end they are saying, why is this guy following me? Why is this guy thinking his world revolves around me and my world revolves around him? I don't care about him. So yeah, I just want to say that. So that's all from me for today. I'm pretty sure this is going to be a little bit of a shorter video. Like, it's not going to be that dramatic, big of like a deep dive or something. But like I said, uni has been stressing me out a lot, and I just wanted to sit down and do something fun and chill. And I love John Green books, so I wanted to talk about them. I was definitely that John Green girly when I was 14. Like I said, I read all of these books immediately back then, and I loved them. So thank you for being here with me, and listening to me talk about them. So, have you read any of these books? And if so, which ones are your favorites? And what do you think about the whole Manic Pixie Dream Girl drama? Because I really need to know. Anyways, thanks for watching. Bye!